Hello everyone. In this video, I am going to talk about obsessive-compulsive disorder, also known as OCD. OCD is a mental disorder that affects all sorts of people, but it can be common for those with autism. Before I was diagnosed as high-functioning autistic, I was diagnosed as OCD, so it's fair to say that I have OCD as well. People with OCD struggle with having cycles of obsessions and compulsions. What are obsessions and compulsions, you might ask? Well, obsessions are strong, obtrusive thoughts and urges. This can be a good thing sometimes. For example, I am obsessed with power lines, and that interest has brought me a lot of joy and gifted me a good job and school experiences that look good on my resume. I'm sure many of you who are autistic are thankful for the positive things your obsessions bring in your life. However, when it comes to OCD, these obsessions have a flip side that may not be as helpful. People with OCD can often have negative obsessions that can be intense enough that it can cause distressing thoughts that can trigger distressing feelings. This can include deciding not to finish important projects on days like Friday the 13th, locking a door several times, not wearing certain clothes, washing your hands several times, or doing drastic things like walking around the block several times. Everyone has obsessive-compulsive behaviors to a certain extent. However, if a person exhibits these traits on an extreme level, where it can disrupt their daily lives, then the person having these obsessive-compulsive behaviors can gain the merits as a person with obsessive-compulsive disorder. I've struggled with OCD for a while, and it is not fun. When I was a kid, I always wanted to line up my toys in my room, turn off all the lights in the house, and close my door just the right angle before I went to bed. If I didn't, I would feel extreme anxiety. As I got older as a kid, I overcame these OCD traits though. However, as a young adult, my OCD traits came back. My OCD traits came back when I got stressed about things people often talked about. I was always interested in deep esoteric topics like philosophy. I gravitated towards many groups of people who were also interested in similar things and talked about it. I thought it was exciting, however I quickly realized many deep philosophical conversations other people talked about often stressed me out. I realized as much as I was into thinking about deep esoteric philosophical stuff, I didn't like it when I heard other people talk about it. I'm not saying that everyone with autism will have the same experience as I did, and I encourage other people to get into deep things if that interests them. However, for me, hearing other people talk about deep things didn't quite go so well with me. It caused me to overanalyze things too much, and it gave me extreme anxiety. This anxiety caused me to want to block out those thoughts. So this started a negative obsession of me trying to do what I can to avoid these thoughts. I did OCD rituals to help me avoid being triggered by those thoughts. If I did a specific thing like finish something while I was thinking about that thought, I felt I would have to repeat that finishing process over again. It helped my anxiety temporarily. However, my OCD rituals quickly got worse and worse over the recent years. Soon I would turn off lights on and off several times before I'd go to bed. I even drove across town late at night as an OCD ritual to correct a potential trigger. I even avoided going to my own living room because there was a painting in the room that was painted by a friend who often talked about things that were deep, and something she said stressed me out to the point that the painting became a trigger. I not only considered all these OCD rituals crazy, a waste of time, but it caused a lot of stress as well in my life. Even though I was officially diagnosed with OCD and struggle with these rituals, the good news is people who have this diagnosis can overcome these rituals. There were times I wasn't sure I could, but I remember when I was younger, I overcame my rituals of keeping my room organized when I was younger and didn't have any OCD rituals for the next 20 years. I worked really hard to reduce my OCD rituals that I recently had that was causing such crazy problems in my life. Now I'm happy to say that I'm very close to completely overcoming these OCD rituals for good. Can you really get rid of OCD? If you have OCD, there's good news. Can you get rid of OCD traits? If you have OCD, there's good news. You can get rid of OCD traits. However, it will take work depending on how severe your OCD traits are. One way to let go of OCD traits is gradually stopping your OCD rituals. If you find it hard to stop your OCD rituals, then start getting rid of smaller rituals that you'll find much easier to stop. Once you stop smaller rituals, then it'll be easier to get rid of more challenging rituals. The more rituals you stop, the easier it will become to stop your overall rituals that you have. Another way to let go of your OCD traits is telling yourself, I'm not going to do a ritual in this specific instance. Acknowledge that this particular instance will be an exception where you won't need to do a ritual. This will help you feel like you don't need to perform a ritual at this specific time. This can be helpful during times where you can't do a ritual, which could be distressing, such as times where you have to go to work or hang out with friends in a situation where you can't go home. Another way to let go of OCD is trying to conquer your fears that cause the rituals and release those fears. This may be one of the more tougher suggestions and could bring up a lot of emotions to the surface. So I wouldn't recommend doing it at a time where you have other obligations, like in the middle of a workday. However, if you have free time, trying to conquer your fears and releasing them can be a huge benefit in the long run, and it could get rid of your OCD traits for good. Another way to let go of your OCD is learning to manage your anxiety better. Many people on the autism spectrum struggle with alexithymia, which means they can feel their emotions but have trouble differentiating the different emotions. This can make these people have a harder time regulating their emotions. However, learning to sit with your emotions can really help you identify them and release them. You can also reduce anxiety by reducing the guilt from learning how to forgive yourself when you make mistakes. Another way to let go of your OCD traits is realizing that your OCD rituals is actually silly. OCD will make you believe your rituals are serious, that if you don't follow them, it will also be serious. However, once you lift that false belief, you will end up laughing and realizing how silly it was to do all these rituals and actually believe the consequences could be true. Another way to let go of OCD is simply believing you can. Believing is the key. If you believe it is hard, it will be hard. However, if you believe it will be easy, then it will be easy. In truth, you can get rid of OCD immediately if you really want to. OCD is a concept that you decided to create. If you want to stop believing in the rituals, then you have to decide to stop. It is really that simple. Another way to let go of your OCD is setting awards. If you set an award for yourself for letting go of your OCD rituals, then this will change your perspective about everything, and this can help you give you the drive to see these rituals as not as important as the award. You will be surprised how effective this award system can be when it comes to letting go of OCD rituals. The last way to let go of OCD is taking medication. I am not a doctor and I'm not going to recommend specific medication. However, if you see a doctor that can recommend specific medication that can work for you, they can recommend specific medication that can work for you. So if you struggle with the other solutions that I mentioned and they don't seem to work well, I would recommend seeing a doctor who prescribes medication to help you. Well, in this video, I talked about what OCD is, what it was like for me to deal with, and offered many tips on how to cope with it and lessen its effects. Do you struggle with OCD? Have you learned any other suggestions that helped you cope with OCD? Please share them in the comments below. Also, if you have any other questions or ideas for future videos, please share them in the comments below as well. Did you find this video helpful? If so, please give this video a like. Please subscribe and ring the bell so you'll be the first one to see more of my videos. Please stay healthy, safe, informed, embrace your obsessions, and most importantly, love yourself. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.